Hey, how are you doing? According to the research about how much politicians get paid by the government around the world by lovemoney.com in England, the average politician's salary paid by the government in Japan is the third biggest in the world. And there must be pros and cons about the situation where politicians receive close to around 5 times as much salary as the average national income in Japan. So the average annual politician's salary in Singapore is about 75,000 US dollars, which is the biggest in the world. So it shows the sense that this much salary for politicians is appropriate to preserve the quality of political management. So each politician in Singapore is required to bring up high performance and fulfill high responsibility on their tasks and commit to each political result. So there are various disputes around the world in terms of how much politicians get paid by the government. But personally, I support the political theory that politicians' salary standards should be considered in reference to the average national income, because correction of wage differential and correction of asset differential among people is one of the big significant missions for politics to be executed in any countries around the world. So politicians who assert correction of wage differential and correction of asset differential among people as a political manifesto are inconsistently trying to widen financial differential themselves by getting much higher salary than the average national income. So that, roughly speaking, their policies about wage differentials are mostly off the mark because they don't feel like lowering their living standards to understand people's living whose annual salary is about $40,000. So they don't actually know what the actual problem of wage differential and asset differential among people is that we have from the viewpoint of civilians. So Aristotle, who is the political scientist in ancient Greek, mentioned the importance of moderation in politics. He said wealthy people only get to know how to control the society, and poor people only get to know how to obey the rulers in the society. Therefore, this situation will not bring the mutual fraternity to both sides as a member of the country. So this theory is strongly influenced by moral philosophy based on Nicomachean ethics. So applying this theory to the modern politicians' situation, they have more or less awareness of sense of entitlement and sense of privilege that was seen in aristocratic society in the past. So in my opinion, we really have to draw the line between the treatment of politicians and treatment of civilians in a democratic society. So concretely, I think we shouldn't weigh the degree of politicians' responsibility, politicians' performance, job performance against how much they get paid. If you take the stance that people will tend to bring up the performance and fulfill high responsibility in proportion to the amount of salary they get, I will take the stance that politicians should not change their motivation and incentive by how much they get paid, but they need to have strong, consistent determination to change something for society, no matter how much they get paid. So they should have a sense of mission with self-discipline, with a sense of self-discipline without having the sense of privilege. So if correction of wage differential and asset differential is one big mission for politics to be completed in a democratic society, at least only political organization should sink deep into socialism. This is my opinion. So the situation where quality of performance of politicians will change depending on how much they get paid shouldn't happen in our society. So Jose Mujica, who is the former president of Uruguay, said that the amount of politicians' salary should be the same as the average national income. So politicians should not be aristocrat and a member of royal family in the country. But politicians should be a servant of the nations of the country. So you shouldn't become a politician. You shouldn't become a politician if you are not prepared to understand the pain and worries of majority of people by considering their viewpoints through the same living standard. So if they're political candidates who long for social status, social fame, and money, they are the type of the person who must not become a politician.